All right, cool. A lot. What's going on, Raider Nation? Good evening to you all. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a nice week so far. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about what the Raiders should target in free agency. I got my boy here, Jack Kenna, another 916 representative from Sacktown. Um, Hoping our boy Dirty Low from South Central California, or excuse me, Central California can join us here soon. But yeah, man, we're gonna talk about some things. Talk about who I think the Raiders. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about who the fuck we should sign, this guy, that guy, but I want to talk about players I want the Raiders to sign, or if I'm GM, if I'm Dave Ziegler, these are the guys I would be looking at. Now I know some of them are going to be expensive, and a lot of people are going to be like, "Well, we can't afford all that." Like, no shit, but at least one or two of these fucking guys we can definitely get. What do you think, Jack?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have a lot of money next year.
Yeah,
After we let Carr go, and everyone knows that I'm a Carr guy, but he's gone. So bye-bye, Carr. Love you, brother. I hope you do well, success in your career. So he's not going to be here. So we're going to have a lot of guys, we can potentially bring in. And I don't know about you, but my number one target, my personal opinion is Jerron Payne.
that's what I was gonna. Yep, that's what I was gonna discuss. So that our biggest deficiency, and it's been for a long time, and I hate to say that, but yeah, our biggest deficiency is freaking defensive tackle, man. We do not have no pressure up the middle. And when you don't have that, you can't get the fucking Mahomes, even Herbert, you're going to get fucking, your defense is going to get sliced and diced. And that was proof in the last game. I mean, we couldn't get to Mahomes. I think we got one sack the entire game. But yeah, besides that, I'm like, yeah, that's all bad. So Daron Payne would be my number one target for defensive tackle. Now, I don't know how much. He's probably going to be very expensive. I say of all the guys I'm looking at, I think Daron Payne is going to be the most expensive person on this list.
I agree. I agree with that. He's going to be the most expensive, but what is it, like 11 sacks or something like that, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of sacks. Interior pressure. I mean, how many sacks did we get from the interior pressure this year? Like 0?
So, honestly, I think we might have got one, maybe two sacks the entire season from a fucking defensive line. I'm like,
well, that's probably like, Cleve Farrow, like, playing on 3rd down or 4th down, like when they're going for it. It's like, no, it's like you got to remember there's like 3rd down, like, every series pretty much. So I'm not talking a one-off. It's like, we need that. We need that. It's going to help our back end, and I hope we do the draft. I want at least 2 DBs in our draft. Seriously, it's like our DBs are like, not looking good. And it's like, who do we have left? It's like if Rock leaves, I mean, he was our best cornerback. If he goes, we got nobody.
So we got Sam Webb. Okay. He's going to be in his 2nd year. We got Amik. Okay. And we got who the fuck else we have? Because there was somebody else we had on the roster.
Well, we got Hobbs at like the slot, but we have really no DBs. I mean, literally, we have no DBs.
I don't know what the hell happened to Nate Hobbs in 22, but he definitely was not the same person as he was in 21. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, that's Warring too. And I had to put that on Graham. It's like Graham is kind of like McDumb. It's like you got to make things so complicated that it's like, the players can't get it. And it's like, it makes it hard for them, like, be in the position they need to be in. Why do our coaches make this stuff going from a schemes that were like easy to learn to super hard, like nobody can understand? It's like, come on, dumb it down. If you have to, dumb it down. I mean, picture this. So remember like when Renfro and Devontae Adams ran into each other?
Yeah, against the fucking Chiefs.
And everybody said that, it's so hard. Well, we got 2 all-pros running into each other. Why is it so difficult? they have the skill level to like beat anyone one-on-one. So why make it so hard? Why not like coach your coaching styles to both the offense and the defense to make it easier? You don't have to like go full force like, in year one. Give these guys time to grow, let you learn under your system and like make it easier. So I don't know about I don't know about this coaching staff, man. I'm kind of torn on that, but
I don't know either. I mean, like I don't trust McDaniel, McDoofus, McDumdum. I don't trust him. I'm gonna give fucking Patrick Graham a pass because he didn't. I'm gonna say he didn't have his guys, and some of these guys are just they're just not it. You can only coach somebody up so much. It's like either you can fucking play and your assignment, or you can't. So I'm going to give him a pass in year one. I'm not giving McDaniels a pass in year one because of the talent, simply the talent on offense. I mean, we have a Super Bowl ready offense minus a few pieces. So we should have been scoring 25 to 30 points a game. Well, we didn't do that all season. I think we only did, I think half the fucking season. I would have to go look back all the games, but I don't think it was more than half the games that we scored, like let's say 25 to 30 points a game. So that is unacceptable.
Well, I can't disagree with that. It's like, like we can keep going back. Like our skill players are amazing. So let's go back to the game that you and I watched together.
The Chargers, okay?
Yeah, the Chargers. 9 tackles for loss. What was it, 6 sacks in that game? Who's going to
6 sacks? Yeah.
Who's going to win off of that? Nobody's going to win. And then I keep thinking back in the past. So, Ken, I don't want to go too far back, but like when John Gruden was like, Derek Carr's got a photographed memory. So if someone's going to learn a system, is that guy right there. He's like, oh my God, he pulled out in week 7 something I learned in practice. So if he's having those type of problems, it's like, everyone's having those problems. And we just talked about 2 all-pro receivers running into each other. So then now we got the trust of Stiddy. And how many years? 4 years now in that system? It's taken 4 years. And if Stiddy, the games that he played in, guess the first game, unbelievable, were the amount of yards he threw, set Raider records. But it took him 4 years to learn that. So, guys, I'm thinking next year we need to get. I hate to say it, I don't want him. Honestly, I don't want him, but it's kind of a necessity. Is get TB12, and I don't want Jimmy G. Sorry, no Jimmy G, because he can't stay healthy more than 3 games a year. But I think TB12 is going to have to be our quarterback next year. We got to go after him. Someone who knows the system and it's not so complicated. And then whoever we draft, which I already said this earlier before we talked, I have a crazy trait, out there, but I think we need TB12 to bridge the gap going from one quarterback to another, because McDaniels is so complicated.
Yeah, he is, and Brady would come in knowing the system, but here's what I'm worried about. Oh shit, Al's Ghost is in the chat. Salute,
up,
Al. Nice. Somebody found us. All right. Well, here's what I'm worried about TB12. Okay, so he knows the system. He knows how to he can just come in there, not even play in the preseason, and then, take the offense over starting week 1. But based on last fucking Saturday, I mean, this dude was throwing noodles. So I don't know if he's lost his arm strength completely. If Mark Davis does want to fucking bring him in, which it's sounding like he does, then he's gonna need to do that. What pitchers do, where they dig their hand in the rice, their arm, to get it fucking strong. Because I'm worried what he was throwing last week. He was missing wide receivers that were wide open, or he wasn't getting the ball there. And I'm like, this is not Tom Brady-ish, TB12 doesn't fucking throw lame ducks, but he did. I mean, last Saturday, that was all bad. I mean, the Dallas, or Monday, whatever, when the fuck the game was. Fucking game. Well, Monday night, I mean.
Old. Right now, he's like, George Blanda of of the world. It's like he doesn't have that same arm strength. It's like he ain't gonna do that. So like the stuff that Carr and Steady did with Davante, and hoping you're getting a PI like way down the field. Well, that's gonna go away. But you'll probably get more PIs or like people like hurting the quarterback penalties like because it's TB12. But I don't see a quarterback that we can get in the draft that you can just put out there and start them day one. I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about any of the quarterbacks in the draft. I definitely would not want, and some people have mentioned his name, but I'm like, no, I don't want an Alabama quarterback. I don't want Bryce Young. No, thank you. I'm not. And CJ Stroud, I don't know. I would probably draft him, but if I can get him at 7, which he's not going to be available at 7, and I don't want to move up, and I don't think Dave Ziegler would do this, but I don't want to move up to get fucking CJ Stroud because, again, you're losing assets that we need pretty much. We need to rebuild our defense, and like you said, we need we need D tackles.
We need everything. We need a DT. We need a linebacker, and we need multiple DBs, and we need a safety. So yes, we don't want to give up draft capital. So it's like like I said, Bryce Young, Stroud, and then we got the kid from Kentucky who's kind of like reminds me of Allen a little bit. Same thing, kind of a raw kid, big, strong. Got an arm. He can run a little bit. And then you got the kid from Miami who's probably at the end of the first round. So you're not going to draft him. You trade back and hopefully get someone like that. And then you got like a Bo Nixon in the 3rd round from Oregon. He's potential. And then you got like, a lot of people are talking about Hooker too. So Hooker probably is a 4th to 5th rounder. So it's like, I don't want a 4th to 5th rounder going into year 1. Or even a 1st round pick going in year 1 and like trying to lead this team, because we have the potential to actually make the playoffs. So we need somebody who's a vet. We need a vet. So I don't like Tom Brady. Tom Brady can kiss my ass, but I feel like he's the guy that can actually do this. And we don't need a lot of pieces, but we need stability at the quarterback position. And Raider Nation, we haven't had that. Had to worry about this in 9 years, but how many years have we been fighting and talking about, do we want Derek Carr or we don't want Derek Carr? So if we draft a quarterback at pick number 7, if we get what we want, let him sit for a year. Just let him sit, let him learn, because
of course you can let him sit for a year. You don't bring him in to play right away, because obviously this system is very complicated. And if you got Devonta Adams, who's been in the league now since 2014, talking about it's like learning Mandarin. Well, then, obviously the system is very challenging in learning. So a rookie's definitely not going to pick that shit up in the. Okay, hold on. Let me put this in for Alice Goes, because he wants to come in here.
Sweet, come on in, Al. It's like and any quarterback that's going to get drafted, there's going to be some conversation with Devontae for sure. Like, what does he see? What does he feel? What's going on?
Yeah, of course you want your number 1 wide receiver to have input on who's going to be throwing them the ball, because you want to know what are the mechanics. How does this quarterback throw in this situation? What if I run this route? Let me bring Alice Ghost in here. Give me a second.
What's up, Kojo, Jack Kenna? What's up, fellas?
Hey, how you doing, Alice Ghost? What's going on, bro?
What's good, dude? I recent subscriber, but I've seen you on some other lives. Always appreciate your content, Kojo and Jack Kenna. You're one of the OGs. Tons of respect for you, dude.
Well, yeah, Jack Kenna is definitely an OG. I mean, I've only been a Raider fan for 33 years, but yeah, I like talking to the people that have been fans since the 70s, and I even know, a few guys since the 60s. So yeah, it's very nice to have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, man. I'm actually jealous of guys like OG and Jack Kenna, because they saw the team in its heyday. And you know, I'm 34 years old, guys, and the last time I saw the Raiders win not even a Super Bowl, win a playoff game, I was in 6th grade. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I was. So you're 30. I was in 2002. I was 25. So you know, still that's a long freaking time ago to talk about a Raider playoff win. I mean, they did I forgot what live it was. Merce Fan Cave. We have not won a real playoff game since the early 80s. Are you serious?
I feel bad for you guys because, like, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, winning was expected. You know, with John Madden, 759 winning percentage. Every game you went into, it was like when they lost, like you were just disappointed. It's like, what? Why did we lose this team? We're better than this team. Yeah. So I feel bad for the younger guys out there, like being an opportunity to see it. So go watch, you know, if you can, go watch those games and get that, you know, you can see it. It's like, it was unbelievable. Al was like on his peak. It wasn't like on his declining years where he was senile, and it was cool stuff, man.
See, yeah, man, I'm jealous of you guys. I don't like.
Go ahead, Coach.
I was just going to say, this is the thing I don't like. Al Davis, you know, there's two sides of Al Davis. There was the younger version that, you know, the OGs got to see, and when he was for the most part, he was making smart decisions. I mean, sometimes he did make decisions that were like, you know, like when he traded away Ken Stabler, or when he traded away Phil Villapiano. But for the most part, in his younger days, Al was amazing. He was doing things that, you know, other people were just wish they could do, but it was just his later years. See, when I became a Raider fan in 1989, Al didn't do something stupid to me until 1992 when he told Marcus Allen, one of the greatest Raiders, period, that I'm gonna get you and all this nonsense. And then all of a sudden in '93 he's wearing a Chiefs uniform. I mean, that was like one of the most devastating things I've ever endured as a Raider fan, to watch Marcus Allen don a Chief uniform and then destroy us for the next 4 seasons. It was just like, what are you doing, bro? That was the very stupid.
You're bringing me back on that, dude. It's like my first preseason game was 1975.
Okay.
At Candlestick, it was the Raiders. my favorite player just retired in '74, so that was Jim Otto. And in '75, Gene Upshaw and Arshell were stretching out at Candlestick, and I was like a little kid. Go Raiders, like corner end zone, and Arshell turned around, stuck his finger up. It's like, woohoo. So Arshell then, like, you know, going like the first player over 300 pounds at the offensive lineman position, dominant. And then, you know, becoming a coach. And I'll never forget in the interview, and I'm watching Arshell, he's like, my hands are tied. When the Raiders brought in Bo Jackson, and then Marcus just became a third down running back, you know, for catching passes.
Wasn't he a fullback for a while, Jack Henna? Didn't he block for him?
Well, yeah, I'm sure he did block for him. I mean, it was a combination of Steve Smith and Marcus Allen. It was kind of sad to see. It was during the '91 season because, you know, Marcus Allen did share the field in '90, but in '91 he was basically what Jack said, a third down back, and he would come in there and block for Bo Jackson. Or I'm sorry, not because we had lost Bo Jackson, but he was blocking for who the fuck did we bring in? Roger Craig. Okay, Roger Craig was the running back, and Marcus Allen was like relegated to number 2 or number 3, and I'm like, Al, come on, man, this is Marcus Allen, and you're gonna like play Roger Craig over him?
Yep.
Yeah, and actually, question for you, Jack. I've tried to do some research on the Raiders, specifically the whole Marcus Allen, Al Davis beef. It's my understanding that Al Davis hated the guy because Marcus Allen held out a year. Is that the extent of the beef as to like why it happened? Do you know anything else?
Well, from what I understand, it's like, you know, Marcus like wanted to do his thing. Al wanted to do his thing. And it's like, before that, it's like everyone just kind of agreed with Al. And Marcus wasn't that player. So, and then I also heard like, you know, strange rumors, like, you know, oh, he hooked up with his niece or something like that. So
I actually hadn't heard any of that. Oh, wow. I mean, I know like Marcus Allen hooked up with OJ's wife, or late wife, I should say.
Too.
Cole Brown Simpson, yeah.
I'm gonna say, yeah, Marcus wasn't. Yeah, he was kind of naughty in that department. Messing with people's wives or women. But yeah, he must have slept with one of Al Davis's nieces or something.
No, I was kind of joking with that, but it's just like, they didn't agree. It's like, Al didn't want to pay, the players that he had. It's like he was a different era. It's like, and Marcus was not agreeing with him. He wanted his, and Al wanted what he wanted. And it's like, and then we saw in the later years with Al, it's like, what was the guy, Wilson from the Giants, like, $54 million as a safety, and he was a bust. It's like, Al made some bad choices, and that's where it started. Honestly, that is where it started right there with Marcus. And then going forward, it's like it kind of went downhill from there.
The next bad choice Al Davis made was firing Art Shell after the 94 season, even though we needed to win that last game to make the playoffs. But it's like, why did you fire him? The man took you to the playoffs in 93, took you to the playoffs in 90 and 91. We missed the playoffs by 2 games in 92. And it's like, he wasn't that, he was close. He took you to an AFC championship. I mean, after that, it took 5 years before another head coach took us to an AFC championship, which was John Gruden. But it wasn't
they brought
all
him back,
Gruden.
and then Art Shell, who's like one of my favorite players, like didn't do anything. So that was a bad move.
That second go around was just all bad. That was a disaster. That was probably the worst disaster in franchise history, to bring back Art Shell, and then you're going to bring Tom Moore, who was doing bed and breakfast for like 12 years, and you're going to put him in to be an offensive coordinator. You can clearly tell our offense was horrible in 2006. We only scored 12 touchdowns in 16 games.
Don't tell Stu that.
No, Stu knows the defense was awesome. We had the number one, I think it was number 3 or number 1 pass defense. No, it was the number 1 pass defense, and I think our defense overall was like 10th or 15th or some shit like that. But our pass defense was awesome. But the offense was fucking trash. Even Stu has come out and said, yeah, the offense just couldn't score points. And yeah, 12 touchdowns in 16 games. I mean, that's not even a touchdown a game.
Well, another bad trade was like Jay Schrader for John Lachey, left tackle, all pro, 2 years in a row, young guy. And let's trade him for Jay Schrader, who was nothing. So, I mean, Al made a lot of bad moves, too.
Looking back, I wish we could have had Steve Young, but the Niners traded for him instead. And then the Raiders wanted to trade from the Niners. It was like, you should have got him from Tampa Bay. Don't wait for the Niners to get him, because you already know DeBartolo ain't going to play ball with you, Al.
Well, if you want to talk about a trade that NFL blocked, I'm sure Captain and OG know this. So we wanted John Elway.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to trade Howie Long and like a second-round pick, but the NFL blocked it. They wouldn't let it happen. Can you imagine in those days with our offense and defense and having, that type of guy on our running the show? It's like, wow.
Oh, we would have been tied with the Niners, or probably had more Super Bowls than the Niners in the 80s had that trade happen. But I don't understand why the NFL is allowed to block trades, because it happened to a basketball team about 10 years ago, where, my team was going to get a certain player, but this little rat bastard of a fucking commissioner, he's passed away now. But anyway, he blocked that trade and kept my team from being dominant. So I don't understand why people get involved in team trades, why commissioners and stuff get involved in team trades.
Well, the NBA, you have to trade salary. But in the NFL, You can trade whatever you want. So that's the kind of thing with Rozelle, with Al Davis, the animosity between them, that 30-on-30 take. Absolutely fun to watch. Absolutely fun to watch. So if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. It's a great little, hour or so show.
Oh, I've seen the 30 for 30. You're talking about Al versus the NFL?
Yep.
Oh, man, that's an awesome show. You get a CGI of Al Davis and a P. Rozelle talking. Yeah, that
It's
was
kind of
cool.
funny. It's like, Al made the NFL look stupid, back in the early days.
But in '83, the Raiders could have drafted Dan Marino, but they chose to draft Don Mosbar instead.
Don Mosbar was good. He was a good center. He was good. I get it though. It's kind of like
up in here.
2000 was it 2003, 2004, like when the Raiders got
Salute Afakasi. How you doing, bro?
Abakazi. Hey, brother. Long time no see. Love you, man.
Afakazi, what's up, man?
Kenner and Al's Ghost. Al, it's been a minute. No, it hasn't, but chat gang. How are you guys?
Oh, we're good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right.
We're just feeling jealous of Jack Henna's glory days with the Raiders, being younger Raider fans.
He got to see the Raiders win fucking Super Bowls.
Right. Yeah, my start was 2000. I think 2008. I think it was kind of the tail end of the Jamarcus Russell era. So yeah, I've never really tasted success outside of maybe 2016 and 2020.
So 2008. So let me ask you this. So seeing the quarterbacks that were before, everyone thinks that quarterbacks seem like to grow on trees and stuff. So who are your Ozzy? Who's your favorite quarterbacks? Over the years from 2008.
Just Raiders or outside of Raiders?
No, just Raiders. Just Raiders.
All right, just Raiders. Okay, so look, he had a bad year. We've moved on from. I made peace from that. But Derek Carr is my number one. I always supported him through thick and thin. It didn't work out in the end, unfortunate. But I'd rather look back at the good times rather than dwell on how it turned out in the end. You know what I mean? I made the analogy on a previous live. You either die a villain or live long enough to. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself turn into a villain. And it's unfortunate that Derek Carr, with a lot of Raider fans, has turned out that way. But he would be my number one. Number two, I did like Jason Campbell. I thought it looked really good in that 2011 season until he went down with injury. If he never went down to injury, I think we would have rolled to the playoffs, but he didn't. We made the trade for Carson Palmer, a guy I didn't like, and the rest is history. We just didn't pan out. I also loved, for his athleticism and his sizzle, Terrell Pryor. I like Terrell Pryor. I mean, from an athletic standpoint, he had all the tools, just, from a quarterback IQ and accuracy, it just wasn't quite there. But it was never a dull moment with Terrell Pryor. So he'd be up there in my top quarterbacks. Outside of that, I liked Bruce Gradkowski. I liked his heart. I liked his grit. What he lacked in his ability, he made up for with this. You know what I mean? And always gave his all as a Raider. So he'd be up there as well. And number 5, God, the rest of them was average to say the least. You know what I mean?
I don't think there is a number 5. That's it. Those 4 guys.
I'll put one out there. It's with Rich Gannon, of course. But I like Kerry Collins. Kerry Collins was a good quarterback for the Raiders.
You said since 2008. So
yeah, Kerry Collins wasn't a Raider anymore.
Oh, he wasn't then? Okay, well, I'm getting old.
Yeah, he was only a Raider in 04 and 05. By 06, he was already on, I think, on the Titans.
I didn't catch Collins when he was a Raider. Like I said, I started the tail end of the Jamarcus Russell era. Yeah. I remember my first game was the Monday Night Football against the Chargers, a very good Charger team, and we almost beat the brakes off them. We only lost it in the end, but it was an experience I never forgot, and I've been a Raider fan ever since.
Yeah, I was at that game too, Afakazi. I sat in the south end zone, and I thought when Jamarcus threw that touchdown pass to Lewis Murphy, 57-yarder, I thought that shit was over, but then they just let him drive all the way down the field, and of course, what's his name? Running back's name, Tomlinson. The master ran it in for a touchdown right at the end on my end zone.
You know what? I will never forget, and what made me what consecrated my Raider fandom was that very first drive. I believe we were on defense, and we shut him down to I think it was a 3-and-out, and I think Richard Seymour made a big splash play. I think it was a tackle in the backfield. And he started celebrating. Just the roar and the scenes from the crowd of the Coliseum. I was hooked ever since. I was like, that's it. that's it for me. It just consecrated my love for the Raiders, and I've been a diehard ever since. So, yeah, I never forgot that game. That was my very first Raider experience.
Nice.
Wow.
And it was weird because it's like from that season, because I didn't know about Game Pass, so I had to listen in on the radio, streaming it on the internet. That and maybe one other game was the only game that they played on the cable TV service over here. They always played like the Patriots, the Cowboys, all these other teams I just didn't know shit about. So it was an event for me to be able to watch Raider football until I discovered Game Pass, where I'm able to watch every game live or on delay.
And how much is that service? How much is Game Pass?
I think it's $100 now.
Per year.
I think it's $100 per year, but now it's monthly. There's a monthly rate.
It's $250, I think, a year. Like for me, it's like, look, I just want to be able to watch Raider football live or on delay, because as you know, I'm in Australia, so a lot of the games are like 2-3 a.m. So I know there are other ways you can watch it. You know what I mean? But like for me, I just want to watch the game when I can, and if that means staying spoiler free and waking up in the morning and watching on delay, so be it. That's the most convenient way for me to be able to watch it. But just to finalize that quarterback list, maybe Mariota. You know what I mean? The same things I said about Terrell Pryor. Maybe he was a little bit better, but he didn't get much of a chance with the Raiders. So that would be my top 5.
Actually, picking him up in the supplemental draft, that was not a bad pickup for getting Pryor at the time.
Yeah. And it was pretty much the birth of the era of the scrambling quarterback, so to say. You know what I mean? It was after him. You saw the likes of RG3, Cam Newton, and co. You know what I'm saying? Colin Kaepernick's another one.
I mean, Russell Wilson did scramble a lot, sometimes for his life.
was before Russell Wilson, though.
Yeah, but even before that, you had the guy in Atlanta who used to fight dogs, who was a hell of a quarterback.
Michael Vick.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Vick.
Michael
But even
Vick.
then, like, it didn't really take off the whole scrambling quarterback thing. It was just basically there was like maybe 1 or 2 in the league, and he did that at an elite level. But then it wasn't until like you saw guys like Kaepernick, Newton, and then it was like a whole kind of phase where like a lot of teams are starting to do it now, rather than just like maybe 1 or 2 out of the 32 teams.
Yeah, there definitely was a shift, because even before then, like Steve Young was seen as like a running quarterback, as a very, very mobile quarterback. But yeah, I mean, there was like a whole influx of run first quarterbacks. Like I would say, in the 2010s, that took flight in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, just hearing Afikazi read off, his favorite quarterbacks since 2008, I think it's just a reminder of how big of a drop off there is between Derek Carr and the rest of these guys. And don't get me wrong, fellas. I mean, once a Raider, always a Raider. Guys like Kerry Collins, Andrew Walter, Josh McCown, Dante Culpepper, etc. Once a Raider, always a Raider. But Derek Carr is undoubtedly the best quarterback that we've had in the last 20 years. And some actually argue that he's actually the best quarterback that we've had for the Raiders of all time, based on his records with the franchise. So it's actually, you could actually debate Carr as being the best quarterback, the best pure quarterback in the entire franchise, in the history of the franchise, which is something else. And I'm with Jack on this, by the way. Quarterbacks, especially starting caliber quarterbacks, they don't grow on trees in the NFL. And frankly, I think we're going to be up for a rude awakening this fall when we try to find a quarterback that could lead our offense. Because if you ask me, TB12 is not the answer. A lot of these guys who are going to hit free agency are not the answer. And drafting a quarterback, right? And they might not even get there. And then drafting a quarterback, I understand that we have teams that have hit on guys like Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, etc., Joe Burrow. But for every Joe Burrow and for every Josh Allen, there are a dozen. What's the guy? Josh
You
Rosen.
have Josh Rosen. You have Tim Couch. You got
Zach Wilson, right? I mean, you just have these
there's
guys.
There's 2/3 more of those guys than there are of these guys that you hit on in the draft. I get.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading an article, guys, like just generally, which is a very eye-opening statistic. About 30%. So basically, a third of first-round picks. So this is including all positions: quarterback, running back, tight end, etc. About a third of them are actually busts. So the draft. I know we see it as the tried and true way to build a sustainable winner, and I believe that. But by and large, even the best teams, they fail. They miss on draft picks, and then that's why you end up thinking about what the Rams ended up doing over the last several years. They were like, "Screw the draft. I'm going to go ahead and trade my draft assets for proven commodities and just trade for those guys," right? And so they haven't had a first round pick in like 5 years, and I don't think they have a first round pick for another 3. So that's another strategy to build a team. I don't think that that's a sustainable way to build a team or build a long-term winner. Like the Rams did get their Super Bowl, right? And happy for them. They got it at SoFi. But now they're in deep shit, right? Because they caught lightning in a bottle. So I do think that building
paying for all their shit.
Yeah, so I do think that building through the draft is the way to go in terms of building and sustaining a winning team. But even the best teams missing the draft, and even though we might have first round picks, we may hit. And based on our history, guys, I mean, based on
our Auntie Six,
history,
salute, brother.
Auntie Six, what's up, man? And based on our drafting history, it's so bad. I have to say, fellas, we got to be one of the top 3 worst teams when it comes to drafting in the entire NFL. It's really, really sad.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we need.
So true.
But hold on, let's give. Last year was we didn't have a 1 and a 2, right? So let's see what the hell Dave Ziegler does in 2023. If he fucking does something, good in the draft in the first 2 picks, then we can judge it. But if he like fucks up and does some stupid shit and drafts something like at 7 that that pulls your hair, kind of like when we drafted Leatherwood, because I was like, who the hell, Alex? Who?
Leatherwood, Farrell, Arnett.
Well,
I'm just saying,
fans would have said, you take Morrig, you put him in the first, Leatherwood, put him in second. We would all been good with that. I would have been good with that.
Right, but now, Jack, we're questioning whether Merrick should even be on the team. I mean, he just played so poorly last season.
And that dude fell off the cliff last year.
No one's going to cut the guy like that. He showed his way. It's like I said earlier, like in the show, probably before he came on. It's like the offense and defense is so complicated. You're going from easy offense, Gus Bradley defense, easy breezy peasy, to like really complicated where people are confused. And so you got to give Morrig his his due. So I'm not going to give up on a kid like that. He's got a lot of talent.
I'm a big critique of Morrick's play lately, but I haven't given up on him yet either, Kenna. But with that said, like you just said it, like it's a confusing, convoluted system. Why make it so confusing and convoluted? I mean, can't we find a happy medium? I mean, I actually appreciated that about Gus Bradley. Yeah, it didn't pan out in the end, but like, can't we? If the players are confused, then they're not going to be able to perform, and it's going to hinder their performance. So why over convolute the playbook and your strategy? Try and maybe, I don't know, I'm no coach, so I'm not trying to sound like I know it all, because I don't, but just my personal opinion, why not try and simplify it a little bit? This way we won't have that issue.
Maybe he doesn't know how to do that. I don't know. It's like the same before you came on, Ozzy. That's exactly what we were talking about with McDaniel and quarterback play.
I'm not Ozzy.
It's like, why is it so confusing where Renfro and Devontae are running into each other, and Derek Carr's got a photographic memory, and they can't figure this stuff out. So that's the whole thing is about what we're talking about. Like, what should we do at quarterback? So I got 2 things for you guys. So one, simple. I don't like TB12, but I say, yes, we need TB12, just a bridge gap. And I said this to like a few people, which is no one's agreed with me, but this is kind of an oddball thing. We got the number 7 pick overall. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. If you guys know me, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. And I saw Caleb Williams just act like Patrick Mahomes and do the craziest sidearm throws. Man, that kid is going to be the number 1 draft pick next year. I wouldn't even be heartbroken. We got TB12 for this year. We're going to do well next year. And then we get a bunch of picks because, you know, if you're going to trade from the next year's draft, you're going to get a lot of picks for that to a crappy team like the Bears who don't need a quarterback. And then we go into Caleb Williams next year. That would be a guy you'd be set for the next Derek Carr franchise run for the next 10 years. And he's going to be that type of kid. So mark my
But
words.
Jack, like I told you earlier when we talked on the phone,
Yep.
that's going to take like 3 number 1 draft picks, if not more, to get Caleb Williams. I'm not with that. I don't want to trade that
No, I
many
don't want to
first
trade
rounders.
Lansfield.
Well, you don't have a choice if nobody's going to give you that number 1 pick without asking for a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So guys,
I'm
my thing
not
on my quick comment on the quarterback situation, what I would do if I was Ziegler, I would just ride with Stidham as the bridge quarterback. You have a guy who's entering, I think, year 4 or year 5 of the system. He already showed against the San Francisco 49ers, the number 1 ranked defense, that he could move the offense. He could get us in good position. He's a mobile guy, so you don't need the best offensive line. He could show that he could duck and dodge and get away from sacks. And so he could be the bridge quarterback because, number 1, he knows the system, and then number 2, he's going to be cheap, right? And then you use your draft capital this year to, re-up our very, very depleted defense. I would focus on the defensive line. I think that football games are ultimately won in the trenches, and we need help. Like Max Crosby needs help on that defensive line. I would draft at number 7. I would draft the best defensive lineman available there. I wouldn't go secondary.
Yeah, I said that too.
Yeah, my whole philosophy, guys, secondary, like I like drafting those guys probably 3rd, 4th, 5th round, because if you generate pressure up front, it hides the weaknesses in the secondary. You don't need elite corners or elite safeties for that. If your front 7 is tight, is good, then your defense could take a big, big step forward. And so that's what I would do. I would sit comfortably at 7. I wouldn't get jumpy, because this is the other thing that you guys got to keep in mind, and that we have to keep in mind as Raider fans. And let me preface what I'm going to say by stating Davante Adams is a top 3, probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. You know, he grew up a Raider fan. He's a great guy off the field. On the field, he's a leader. He produces. He's been great for us. He broke Tim Brown's franchise records, et cetera, et cetera. But I actually question Ziegler for making that trade. And this is why. You trade a 1st and 2nd round pick for an elite wide receiver, and you also pay him a boatload of money. If you guys look at Spot Track, I think in 2024, 2025, the guy's going to be due like $44 million. It's like quarterback money, guys. And he's getting paid a lot of cash. So if you're in the team building business, which in my estimation now, guys, Ziegler and McDaniels are tearing this shit down and building it back up. It actually didn't make sense from a football standpoint to trade that prime draft capital and pay an elite wide receiver. So I think Ziegler actually messed up in that regard. And then he messed up a second time when he and McDaniels realized, like, hey, Carr is not our guy. I think there might be a little bit of background noise.
Yeah, I think it might be from you, Coach. It's not from me.
Oh, no worries.
I think there's some background
Hang on a
noise.
sec.
Coach.
Just so you guys could.
Because I got
Can you
noise
hear me?
counseling.
Oh, no, it's all good.
It's either like from a TV or from
Give me a
your
sec.
speakers.
No, you're good, Kojo. But
I'm gonna
for
go
you-
take care of that.
No,
I'll
no
have
worries.
to take up to you, Els, when you're done.
Yeah, no worries, Kojo. I was just going to say a quick comment for you guys, and you guys could feel free to react to anything that I'm saying. So, number 1, I do question Ziegler on the Davante Adams trade if you're actually analyzing it through the lens of building the team. You gave up a lot to get an elite wide receiver, and he's produced, so I get that, but he gave up a lot. And then number 2, on the Derek Carr situation, the way that they structured the contract, it tells me that they weren't convinced that Derek Carr was the guy, right? Because they carved into the contract and out at the end of this year. So what I would question Ziegler on is if you weren't convinced that Carr was the guy, you actually should have traded him before last season, because that's when Carr's draft stock was the highest. There's rumors that the Colts were offering 2 first-round picks, guys, for Derek Carr, but we stuck with him. And now what I believe is going to happen is we're going to end up cutting him, and we're not going to get anything in return. So we're going to end up with pie on our face. So I think Ziegler, like, for as much faith that we have in Ziegler, he's made some questionable moves. The other one that I would throw in there is the Chandler Jones contract, $51 million over 3 years for a 31, 32-year-old pass rusher who gave us 4.5 sacks this year, 3 sacks in a single game. And I know he won us the Patriots game, but I mean, that's a questionable move right there. And my verdict is out. My verdict is still out on Ziegler, and I don't believe in McDaniels. I think he is not a head coach. He's not a head coach material. If you look at his record, guys, he's 17-28. So we have a 45-game sample. To me, that's a large enough sample to determine that this guy is not the guy moving forward. That being said, and I'll end with this, guys, and I'm getting a little long-winded. I do not think that that the right move would be to fire Ziegler and McDaniels, because if there's something that this organization needs, it's stability at the GM spot. It's stability at the head coaching position. Check this out, guys. Since 1969, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 head coaches. Since October 2021, we've had 3 head coaches: Gruden, Bisaccia, McDaniels. So we need stability. Even though I don't believe in these guys, we got to ride with them. You guys could react to anything that I said.
Yeah, I'll have a take if you don't mind. Look, you know I've been a heavy critique of Josh McDaniels, but look, I'm going to ride it out. Hopefully he can turn it around and make a believer out of me. But until he does, I don't really have too much faith in McDaniels. But hopefully that can turn around soon. In regards to Ziegler, I mean, look, I think it was the right move. I mean, you know, we got Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the game. I know you talk about, and you're not the only one who talked about how it was a dumb move with Derek Carr, but at the same time, it's like, you know, hindsight's all 50-50 now that we can look at it and it didn't work out, because it didn't. But at the time, you know, we were all talking about a retool instead of a rebuild, and the coaching staff and the management seems to be as hopeful as a lot of us were, that Derek Carr, with the weapons that he's got, will be able to come back to form and be the best that he can be. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way, and now here we are, you know, talking about possibly releasing him instead of we didn't trade him off then. So I understand the move and why they didn't make it then. It's like I said, hindsight's all good and great now that it didn't pan out. But, you know, moving to the future, and, you know, you were talking about like Chandler Jones. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like that for me, like, the statistics are there, and like he has been a great player in the past, but I'm always buyer beware when you get guys who have been in the league for, especially in physical positions like defensive line or wide receiver or something like that, when they're 10, 11, 12 seasons deep into their career. For me, it's like, are we really going to pay that kind of money to a guy who's on the tail end of his career and probably doesn't have too much left? And sure enough, it didn't pan out as well as what we would have liked it to. Yeah, there were times when it was okay, but like, you know, for me, he didn't come anywhere close to cashing in the check that we paid him in terms of performance. But looking to the future, you're talking about the draft. Like, you know, I'm right there with you again. Like when it comes to like, I don't want to get too jumpy, but at the same time, like, you know, I don't want us to try and give the house to trade for a draft pick that'll draft a quarterback if it's 1 or 2. However, you know what I mean? I talked about this on Aussie's Live. Shout out to him. I'd be all aboard if we were to move up maybe 2 or 3 spots. You know, we're at 7. If we could jump to maybe 3 or 4 and pay a little bit of a price, you know what I mean? Like maybe around 2 in order to jump that far, because it's not that many spots up to get a guy like Jalen Carter. To your point again, addressing that defensive line, I'd be all aboard with that. It's about time we draft a game changer on defense. Year in year out, when we draft a defensive player for the last decade and a bit, I've been a fan. The only time we've been able to find a game changer is Khalil Mack. in the first round.
That's
Outside of
it. Facts.
First round, I mean, look, Rolando McLean, DJ Hayden, Kyle Joseph, Jonathan Abram, Garyon Conley, Damon Arnett. I mean, we had them starting because of their draft spot, not because that they were game changers. Cleve Farrell is another one. You know what I mean? Like, we really need to hit it out of the ballpark with this draft class, especially round one. We need a game changer, not just a starter, a game changer, because I'm tired of us drafting in the first round and they're serviceable for serviceable starters, but they're not game changers. Ideally, you want a good starter at the very least, at best, a game changer like Khalil Mack, and it's about time we get one.
Yeah, I would do that. I would move up for freaking Jalen Carter. Now, that's one guy I would move up for, but I'm not moving up for a quarterback. Hey, but let me ask you guys something, because Auntie Six had a question for all of us. He's like, he wants to know who is returning kicks and punts next year, since we haven't had a kick return since 2011 and a punt return. I think, I don't even remember when we had a punt return for a touchdown.
Long as it's not Renfro, I don't care. I mean,
no, I don't want Renfro back.
That's a part of the game that's kind of gone to the wayside, with kickoffs and punt returns. Like, it's not as big as what it was years and years ago. But let's, Carter, if the Bears don't trade back, I can honestly see that guy being the number one pick. Since they don't need a quarterback. If they don't get a trade to go back, Carter will probably be the number one pick. And that outside edge rusher from Alabama, he looks pretty damn good too. So I wouldn't mind seeing him. And I agree on Chandler Jones. It's like, yes, he's getting older, but is it really all just Chandler Jones? You guys, when you watch the games, look at him. He doesn't even, half the time, he doesn't even try to rush. He's trying to pin that edge. So again, I'm kind of putting that on Graham. Why is he not rushing? You're paying that type of premium money to get a guy to go after the quarterback, and you're not doing that. And when you're not doing that, then why not just have one of the okay, I wanted to see more Bowers. Bowers was the MVP of our preseason. How many snaps did he get? 10, 12 for the whole year? If you're going to sit there and pin the edge, then put a guy like that in. Let Chandler Jones sit. He's getting older. Rest him. So that way, when you want to pin his ears back, let him go after the quarterback.
Yeah, and to that point, Jack, related to my point that I don't believe in McDaniels, I don't believe in Patrick Graham. As I was watching the games, exactly. As I was watching the games this season, I was specifically focused on Graham's defensive play calling. There were just some head-scratching decisions on his part. He had situations in which he was dropping Max Crosby into coverage in obvious passing situations, playing Cleve Farrell as a defensive back in the first Kansas City game, playing press man coverage against the Rams. By the way, in that Thursday night game where Patrick Graham, I should say, allowed Baker Mayfield to march down the field 98 yards in such a heartbreaking loss. I mean, these are defensive play calls that have to be on Graham. And personally, guys, if I were McDaniels, I would have fired Graham at the end of the season. It looks like he's not going to get fired. It looks like Graham is staying. And I would have picked up Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is a former head coach in the division. Obviously, he was a head coach for the Denver Broncos, but he's one of the most brilliant defensive minds in the NFL. Khalil Mack, when Vic Fangio was coordinating the defense out in Chicago, Khalil Mack called him a mad scientist when it came to defense. So if we were to make a run for Vic Fangio, now and go grocery shopping for him, because this is my concern, guys. We might have another Paul Guenther situation. Because remember the excuses with Paul Guenther, right? Hey, Paul Guenther
it was
doesn't
too
have
fucking
his guy.
complicated.
You hit the nail on the head. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
it's the
Graham and Guenther.
Exactly. It was like, hey, remember that first year? Well, it's very complicated. It's very, very complicated.
Why complicate it? Simplify it. Make it easy for them to understand so they can execute.
Exactly, Afakazi. And then the excuse was, well, you had a couple of excuses. One is, it's very complicated. And then the second one was, Well, he needs to get his guys in, right? And so my concern with having a guy like Patrick Graham is you may have an incompetent defensive coordinator. Like we may have an incompetent defensive coordinator on our hands. And then now in the offseason, as we're ramping up for the draft and ramping up for free agency, we're going grocery shopping for a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. So to analogize, right? Let's say Patrick Graham is the chef. We're going picking ingredients, picking, the produce and the meat for this guy, but the chef doesn't know what to do with this stuff, so it doesn't make sense. So ideally, fucking McDaniel should have fired him, because you got to step back. I understand we had a lot of subpar talent on the defense, and we had much more money invested on the offense. But I go back to the play calling, guys, dropping Max Crosby into coverage, playing press man at the end of the Rams game when the Rams didn't have any timeouts, playing a defensive end as a defensive back, even playing, and I know he did this out of necessity, guys, but playing Amik Robertson on the outside, and I know he had a couple big plays for us. Amik Robertson at 5'8", he's not going to succeed in this modern day NFL when these receivers are 6'1", 6'2", and up. Like it's just a height differential at that point. And I'm not knocking Amik for his talent. I think he's a good player. He has a lot of dog in him. But as a head coach, you got to step back and ask yourself, am I putting a 5'8" corner in the best position to succeed when he's playing press man against these dudes who are 6'3", 6'4"? Like he's going to get cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
He's
totally agree.
Amik is inconsistent.
How many games did we lose this year by double-digit points? We set a record. A record.
You mean how many games we lost because we had a double-digit lead?
Yeah, exactly.
Five fucking games.
Hey guys, so like I don't want to say anything like controversial, but I actually question whether or not this regime wanted to win this season. And the reason why I asked that, or why I question that, is step back and think about when we had Jonathan Abram on the roster. Jonathan Abram started for us all the way up until the trade deadline, if you remember that. And then after the trade deadline, they cut him. So what that tells me is he was actually not good enough to be on the roster. They were just shopping him for a trade. So if you're playing someone to shop him, you're not playing that guy because he's going to give you the best chance to win. Because right after the trade deadline passed and there weren't any takers, they cut him.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so that kind of just tells me these guys were interested in acquiring as many draft assets as possible, right, at that point. And that's why they were just, having Abram play for us, even though they knew he was not good enough for this scheme going forward. And so that was like a huge head scratcher for me. Like, hey, do these guys actually want to win this year? It didn't seem like they were too concerned with winning or not.
I'll give you another head scratcher, and it's going back to Auntie Six's question, and I've brought it up on a few lives now. The return role has been a struggle for us ever since we had Jacoby Ford on our roster. We did have Cordell Patterson, but teams weren't kicking to him. He didn't really get much of a chance to showcase his skill set during his time as a Raider. And we also had Dwayne Harris, who he was good for a time, but like when we got him, he was well past it. I mean, he did return that ball he did have a one return for a touchdown, but he was no Jacoby Ford. It's about time we get like a returner in the door who can at least be a little bit more sure of themselves rather than all these guys who just, we were lucky to get 2 or 3 yards. Renfro does okay, but I don't want him there. But back to my point, another head scratcher, going back to our struggles at the return position, Keyshawn Nixon, a guy we had on our roster, undrafted free agent, 2019. We had him for 3 years. And in those 3 years he was with us, we struggled at the return position, okay? We were lucky to get any kind of decent gain or decent yardage, right? We released him at the start of this season, goes to Green Bay. Hallelujah. He turns out to be an all-pro return. And we didn't even try him when he was on our roster, to my knowledge. Can any of you remember if we even?
Oh, absolutely remember. And what's crazy is that you think about it, the special teams coach in Green Bay was our head coach for the Raiders at the time. So why didn't he try him out then?
Why didn't we even try him? And then he goes to another team. He's a friggin' all-pro, the best in the fucking league. Can you believe that shit?
Not just that guy off of Kazi, but the other guy in Green Bay, the cornerback,
Rasul Douglas.
Rasul Douglas, exactly, Kojo, who didn't make the team in 2021. Over the course of 2 seasons, he has 9 interceptions, 5 in 2021 and 4 last year, and he didn't make our team. Like, it's just baffling, dude. It's almost as if we want to kick out the good players and like keep the bad ones. You see Jonathan Hankins having a great game this weekend too. Go ahead,
I saw Jonathan Hankins.
I've got another name at the return position as well. You guys remember Jadon Mickens?
Yeah,
absolutely. I remember Jadon Mickens.
He was a UDFA, I believe, 2017 or 2018. I think we cut him pretty early after preseason. We might have kept him on our practice squad, I think, for a season. He goes to other teams. I think he went to Jacksonville, and I think he was a Texan. And I think he returned maybe 3 or 4 for touchdowns.
Wow. Yeah, you can't make this shit up.
So I can't remember his name. I'm drawing a mental blank. But the last good kick returner, punt returner was the guy that we got from the Bears who set all those all-time records, and then he went to Atlanta afterwards. He kind of went.
You talking about Cordero Patterson?
Patterson, there you go.
Well, he only had him for 1 year, and he didn't really showcase it because they weren't kicking it to him.
Yeah, that's what I said, Jack. I said we did. I highlighted that before, that we did sign Cordell Patterson for that role. Fantastic. But the problem was teams didn't kick it to him. I mean, when I look back and I remember fondly, like in 2017, it's like he's not even getting a chance. And sure enough, we didn't end up retaining him because it's like, well, we're not even utilizing him to his skill set, and teams aren't really kicking to him. So there's not really much point in us paying all this money for a punt kick return specialist that isn't getting the ball. So
the only thing I remember he did off of Kasi was that reverse against the Jets. I think it was a reverse that he scored a touchdown on. That's the only thing I remember.
I was at that game, Kojo.
Wasn't that against the Chiefs? Didn't he have
against the Jets?
Yeah, it's against the Jets. I was at that game, Kojo. I was actually at that one.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's where you got to see Marshawn Lynch dance on the sideline and shake his head.
Yes. So I was a season ticket holder in Oakland for a long time, and so yeah, I remember that season fondly, dude. We started off 2-0, and then we shit the bed against the Redskins.
And then it went downhill in the Redskins game. Yeah.
Once we played Washington, it just went all downhill.
It's wild, man. Yeah, this franchise just needs stability. It needs some guidance. Fuck, imagine if Jack Henna were the GM. I know Jack do a hell of a job. He's been knowing the team for a while, for several years, and I feel like we have guys who don't know the history, who don't know the ins and outs of the Raiders, and then they just kind of like shit the bed and then they leave. And it just makes for a tough situation.
Hopefully, it can be
it's happened to us too many times.
Moving here on out. On that note, thanks for having me, Kojo. I'm gonna.
No problem,
Appreciate
you, brother.
And Jack, Al, always good to catch up with you guys. Anyone in the chat, Take FM, and I am going to be doing a live. I think Sunday night for you guys. It would be between 4 and 5 p.m. In the afternoon.
Okay.
Me, Auntie Six, and possibly Joe. We're going to be doing a look back, and we're going to be doing a tier list on the round 1 draft picks we've had since 2007, so the last 15 years. So.
All right, Auntie, tell Auntie stop busting my balls off that trade last year, or the bet we had last year.
Jack, I'll tell him that if you stop calling me Aussie. My name's not Aussie. It's
Avocasi.
Avocado. That's all right.
You keep calling me Aussie, man. I appreciate you think I'm Aussie. I get that, but Aussie's a different guy. I'm Avocado. All right, guys, and if you struggle, Jack,
have a good one, bro.
All right, take care.
I'll see you, man.
Right. Nah, but man, let me tell you guys, this is what I was telling Jack earlier, Al's Ghost. This is what I want because we've had a shit defense for, let's call it 20 years overall. I want a starter at every position. So I want a starting defensive tackle, and these are free agents I'm talking about. Starting defensive tackle, a starting linebacker. So linebackers, I was looking at Levante David, and he said if TB12 comes to Las Vegas, he will follow him. Otherwise, because I was hearing Raider Gabe yesterday said it would be hard to get him out of a Buccaneer uniform because he's been there for 10 years. I'm like, no, I think I heard him say if Tom Brady comes to the Raiders, he would follow him. So I'm looking, Levante David, that solidifies a starting linebacker in the middle. Okay. Cornerback. We should have had this guy 2 years ago or whenever he was a free agent. He went from the Giants to the Eagles, but James Bradbury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would love to sign him. If not, either Byron Murphy or Patrick Peterson. I know Patrick Peterson is 32. I'll take him. You know what I'm saying? He's not washed up to me. At least I've been watching him play. And then for a safety, I know he's going to be expensive. Jesse Bates. If not Jesse Bates, then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or Von Bell. I'll take either of those guys. But I want a starter at every position on the freaking defense besides defensive end, obviously, because we already have two. So that's how I think we can solidify our defense. And then, of course, on offense, you get a guard and a tackle because, we're having trouble with our right tackle. We've had trouble with right tackle since – can you guys remember the last time we had a great right tackle besides Fat Boy Brown?
Lincoln Kennedy?
Yeah, Lincoln Kennedy.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. I mean, that's 20 years ago, Jack. You know what I'm saying?
If you guys remember,
like
Austin Howard was pretty serviceable.
I remember Austin Howard, yeah. We had him in 2016.
Yeah, he was a pretty serviceable right tackle, but yeah, we haven't had a dominant right tackle. Which, by the way, Jack, I mean, I hate Trent Brown for committing highway robbery against the Raiders. Guys, that guy got paid tens of millions of dollars for playing, I think,
sit on the bench.
Of 13 games for us. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just baffling. And then he went back to the Patriots, and he was talking a bunch of smack about the Raiders when he left. He just came here.
I hate that. I hate when players leave, then they just fucking trash us.
Same with Joyner. If you guys remember, LaMarcus Joyner, he trashed the Raiders when he left, and he got a bunch of money from us.
I don't blame LaMarcus Joyner. Al,
I agree with Coach. I like Joyner. I just think he wasn't used right.
No, he wasn't.
He was
corner instead of position.
So my thing, Jack, is, and I know these guys have to say it in front of the media because he originally was a safety, and then he got moved to nickel corner under Paul Gunther's system. And when he got moved to corner or nickel corner specifically, he was telling the media and telling everyone how he loved that position. That was his natural position. And then he goes to the Jets and says, well, I wasn't used right. I was actually a safety the whole time. And it just kind of rubs me the wrong way when these guys, aren't vocal about, the position that they should be playing. Maybe they are behind closed doors. And I mean, I can't blame them for telling the media one thing, right? Because at the end of the day, they're trying to keep their job and they don't want to get cut.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's one of the guys who just didn't produce. And Kojo, I'm with you, man. If we could get those guys, and if we could get them at a reasonable price, and if they could come here and produce, I'm all for it. But frankly, based on our track record of free agency and the draft, we just don't hit on guys, right? I mean, remember Corey Littleton, LaMarcus Joyner, we talked about that guy. Trent Brown wasn't great for us. Who the other linebacker, I forget his name.
Kwiatkowski.
What the hell? Yeah,
Kwiatkowski.
Kwiatkowski,
yeah, Nick Kwiatkowski.
Nick Kwiatkowski, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was another guy who was another linebacker who we got in free agency who didn't pan out, and it's hard. I mean, you guys remember Sean Smith at corner? He was like this long corner.
Oh, do I? I remember his first freaking game against the Saints. I mean, he just got torched. He got benched. He didn't even finish the game.
Yeah. He
didn't even finish the game. I mean, the man got burned for 90 yards by the guy we've been talking about getting in a Raider uniform, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I mean, he got absolutely torched. So, I mean, in free agency over the last several years, it's really slim pickings in terms of the guys who have actually made an impact. I could really only think of a couple: Denzel Perryman and Devontae Adams. And
Yeah,
then
I'll
I would
say
actually probably
Denzel Perryman. Yeah.
and I'd throw Mac Hollins in there. He had a really good year, which, by the way, he's a free agent, guys. He only
Mhm.
signed a 1 year deal, so you know he's going to want to get the bag. Like he's going to want to get paid, some chunk of money, because now he used to be purely a special teams guy. That's where he made his bones in England, not New England, and for the Philadelphia Eagles and for the Miami
Eagles and the
Dolphins.
Dolphins is where he did most of his
Right. And
damage.
he was purely, like, pretty much purely a special teams guy. But then this year he had a several hundred yards. Like he had a couple of monster games. So his agent's gonna be pushing for receiver money, not just special team money.
Oh, he's gonna be asking for like what's his name? The guy who went to Jacksonville. He's gonna be asking for Zay Jones money. Watch.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna be asking for Zay Jones money.
Yeah, so
Would
we're
be
not gonna
interesting
pay
if
that.
Carr was here. If you talk about like Zay Jones, Nelson Aguilar, and in our wide receiver right now, it's like then it'd be interesting because I'm sure they're probably all going to be free agents, and who would we want back out of those three guys? But now that we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, it's like, are really any of those guys worthy? So we'll have to find out.
Hey Jack, so something that I think about, and I know it's a sore subject, but just imagine if Ruggs were still around
Oh
in
my
this
God!
because that was actually a pick that we hit on, guys. That we actually hit on that pick. He was going to have
Yeah,
a
we did.
breakout year. He was going to have a breakout year before the tragedy occurred. But that guy Devontae, you have the speed guy in Ruggs, you have the slot guy in Renfro, you have your tight end in Waller, you have Josh Jacobs pounding the rock. That's 35 points a game.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
if we still had Henry Ruggs, then yeah, defenses will play us different, because you got a guy that can run a 4-2.
And that's what we're missing, Kojo. We're missing that 4-2 guy, that 4-2, 4-3 guy.
4-2-7, whatever the heck he was. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that guy on our offense.
Well, they need to, look at free agents or draft. Well, I don't know about the draft. I don't know. Like I said, I don't look at college players like that. I let other Raider content creators do the fucking breakdowns because, that shit takes time. But, yeah, we definitely need a receiver that can take the top off defenses.
Again, look at the history. Look at one of our best receivers ever in Cliff Branch. I mean, honestly, even growing up as a kid, and I'm looking, at the 76 team, and I'm going, dude, Cliff Branch is the best receiver on that team. And he was been the best receiver all the way up into, through the 80s, like until he retired. It's like he was the best receiver. I mean, yes, we had Hall of Fame receivers on the team, but they weren't Cliff Branch. He changed the mode of the whole NFL. You look at Tyreek Hill. He broke the mold again. He's like, that's the closest guy I can call to Cliff Branch. Because he takes the top off defenses. It's like there's nobody like him.
Yeah, they tell or they say that those kind of guys, Jack, just tilt the field, right? Because then you have to have the safety over the top. You got to have coverage over that guy. You have to roll the defense to that side. It's a big difference. And don't get me wrong, like Devontae Adams is an amazing wide receiver, and he also tilts the field in that way. But when you have a burner who is faster than anyone else on the defense, it's just a different ball game. You see how these guys – yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Please continue.
Oh, I was just going to say, you could tell the way that these cornerbacks just play Tyreek Hill. They're like 15 yards off because they got to give them that cushion, right? And so what does that do? That opens up all of the underneath routes for like the slot guy, the running back. It just creates a lot of real estate for the rest of the offense to cook,
Yeah, when you got to put that safety over the top on that speed burner, exactly what you just said, Al. It's like it opens everything up for everybody else. Can you imagine if Ruggs is going down deep, Devontae kind of medium, and then you got Waller and Renfro doing short to intermediate routes at the same time? You can't do that. It's like you always got to play the deep guy first.
And then you had the light boxes for Jacobs. You have right, like you don't have these heavy boxes with fucking 5 down linemen and 4 linebackers. You can't play it that way. All of a sudden, you're only rushing 4. Maybe you have 1 or 2 linebackers. It just makes it very, very easy.
Since Holland's going to be a free agent, I don't even know, honestly, guys, who are the free agent wide receivers coming out, available. I mean, I think we're all, as being Raider fans, we're so focused on like wanting defensive players. I have no idea who's even going to be a free agent wide receiver next year.
Well, I'll tell you who's a free agent wide receiver. At least I got 3 of them. I'm sure there's going to be more than this, but I got Odell Beckham Jr., Jacoby Myers from the Patriots, and then DJ Chark from the Lions. So those are free agent wide receivers.
So I think actually Nelson Aguilar is one of them. Jack.
Yep, Aguilar is going to be one.
Back.
I don't know if Aguilar is going to want to come back to be a Raider after that speech. Remember against the Dolphins,
right?
Lost because of Mac Hollins. He's the one that burned us down the sideline because fucking Arden Key decided to use the
face mask. Yeah,
the face mask as his own personal, it was his own personal helmet that he was ripping off the dude's face.
Fuck that guy, man, Arden Key, and now he's balling in Jacksonville.
He's a free agent too. That guy's gonna be a free agent.
He did pretty well in San Francisco,
by the
way. Yeah, but
I would look at DJ Chark if he's not too freaking expensive.
No, I agree. I think that'd be probably a good option. Question for you guys, and I'll take your comments off air. But I'm interested on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most and 1 being the least. What's your confidence level in A, Ziegler, and B, McDaniels, and turning this around? So 2 different scores, right? 1 for Ziegler, 1 for McDaniels. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most confidence that you have, and these guys turning it around, and us putting us back on the commitment to excellence. So I'll let you guys go, but always great
go ahead, Jack.
Kojo and Jack.
It was nice talking
great chatting with you guys, man. I'll take your comments off air.
Al, good to see you live, bro. Instead of just seeing you on the chat.
It easy.
Absolutely. See you, fellas.
Go ahead, Jack.
So we're talking McShit nuts. I only give that guy a 5. I like him better as an offensive coordinator, only being an offensive coordinator versus being a head coach. I don't know if the guy can do both jobs at one time. We've seen what happened with New England, and we know New England does well when you got a great defense. He's not, unless when they had Randy Moss and Tom Brady, they're not throwing up crazy points. So with McDaniels and what we talked about from the very beginning of the show, things are so complicated. Why can't you dumb them down? Same thing we talked about with Graham. Got to dumb that stuff down. Make it easier for these guys. Maybe run less plays. Perfect what you got. So I only give that guy like a 5, 5.5. But in the way of Ziegler, that's a little bit different. So yes, we kind of swung and missed on Josh Jacobs, but I think most of us as fans at that time would probably agree that, hey, we're not going to give you that 5th year. Now we look back on it going, wow, why didn't we give him that 5th year? But I think at the time that made sense. And now, even though I'm a Carr guy, the way he structured the deal, we're only going to have $5 million of dead money from the Carr deal and letting him go. And you can get it Tom Brady. So I'm not saying Tom Brady is the Tom Brady of old, but I think he can manage a game and he knows the system. And I don't want a Jimmy G. And we look at Stiddy. It's like he's an improvement. We don't want to play for next year. We want to win now. And I think Brady has always done this where he's going to make his contract to where you can get players to go around him. And why would he not want to go around the offensive weapons that we have? So that could be a brilliant move. Draft wise, I do like Parham. I thought, coming in a 3rd round draft pick and doing what he did as a rookie, I thought he played well. But in the way of the rest of the draft picks, I don't know. So I just haven't seen anyone break out from going beyond our top pick at number 3. So right now, there's still question marks, just like, McShitnuts. But I would give him probably about a 6.5 to a 7. But I'm going to reserve what I think overall until we have a full draft and see the players. If we can see, like, the players come in, if they can start as being rookies, if they can do that, like Nate Hobbs or, Max Crosby, guys that, we draft and then they show like they belong, and they belong on the starting, side of the defense or offense. So right now I'm going to say a 6.5 to 7. So I'm going to give him a little bit more leeway than I give McDaniels. How about you?
So McDickhead, I'm giving him, because of the record we finished with and our the talent that we had on the offense and side of the ball, and some okay defensive players, besides Max Crosby, I'm gonna give him a 4 because we finished fucking 6-11. That is unacceptable, man. We were 10-7 the year before that with lesser talent, and you're gonna fucking win less games. So I'm gonna give him a 4. So he's got this year, 2023, to fucking show me that he's an actually I know he's a good offensive coordinator, but you got to show me that you can actually coach men and be the leader of 53 guys. Because if we start out like 1-6 again, I want him fired like before Thanksgiving. So I'm going to give him a 4, and he needs to show me major improvement in 2023, or you need to get the fuck up off my team. Ziegler, yeah, I'm going to give him, because he drafted so many damn running backs and some of them didn't even play. I'm going to give him a fucking 6. Because you drafted some guys, they didn't play. You gave that contract to Chandler Jones, which is bad. Now we're stuck with that shit for 2 more seasons. And it took him to the Charger game, the second Charger game, to show up. I'm like, is this motherfucker ever going to – because I kept saying that all year. It's like, is Chandler Jones going to show up at some point? Or we just paying $17 million for fucking a ghost? I'm
So
giving
true.
Ziegler a 6 and fucking McDickhead a 4. So that would be failing. Yeah. So yeah, he doesn't even get a fucking 50-50. But
Yeah, I kind of feel like,
I'm giving these guys.
I feel like kind of Jones got handcuffed a little bit though too. I feel like in the beginning of the year they let him like try to rush, and then when it didn't really work out, and then it's like, I see Graham just like, let him just set the edge, just trying to stop the edge. It's like, you don't do that. You don't pay a guy $17 million a year and just try to hold the edge. It's like, you got to let him fly, bro.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm giving McDickhead a 4, because I think he was responsible, even though, Carr didn't have like a real good season. I think he was still responsible for handcuffing Carr in certain situations, because I'm like, why the fuck you call that play? Why didn't you fucking change it? Or why didn't you let him fucking audible to do something else? Because there were certain plays I'm like, why are you calling that play? And why are you handcuffing the fucking quarterback? He's supposed to be the field general. So, yeah, there was a bunch of fucking times where he was like, it looked like he handcuffed the man. And I'm like, I don't like that shit at all, because I didn't see that in New England. So,
well, the play calling seemed different, the 2 games under Stiddy than under Carr. So it's like, okay, where's the difference? Why?
Well, not according to the players. The players said the plays were the same. They were just being executed differently. So, I mean, yeah, I noticed a little slight difference in the Niner game, but I didn't see really any difference in the Chiefs game. The play calling was the play calling.
And if that was Carr, playing that game versus the Chiefs versus Stidham, everybody would have been in uproar over Carr. It's like, Stidham didn't play all that good in that game. Yes, I will grant him the Niner game, he looked good. It's like, man, if you can keep that up, that's just like that guy the Niners got, Mr. Irrelevant pick, Purdy. It's like we need that. We need that magic right there.
Yeah, I would love to get that magic, draft the quarterback in the 5th or 6th round, and, he comes and he's that guy.
Well, in the 5th round, probably maybe Hooker. In the 3rd round, maybe like Bo Nixon. There's going to be like 4 quarterbacks in round number 1.
Well, I don't want a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Get defensive players the first 3 rounds. After that, you can like try to see who's on the board. But yeah, if Hendon Hooker's on the board in the 5th or 6th round, I'd pull the trigger on him. But I don't know if Ziegler's going to do the same.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a tweener between 4 and 5, depending where you're drafting and what your needs are. That's where I see him going. Yeah. But I am intrigued by Bo Nixon a little bit, and I also am intrigued by the quarterback from Kentucky. He got a lot of Allen traits, but again, he's like a guy like Allen. He needs to develop, and he's not accurate. He's big, he's strong, he can run, he can do all those things, but he needs a little bit of time, I think, to develop. So TB12 would be good for a 1-year bridge, and then bye-bye TB12, go away.
Yeah, but like I told you, my biggest concern right now is his arm did not look good against the Cowboys. So I don't know what you got to do, man. Stick your arm in rice and strengthen that bitch up. I know you're going to be 46 in August, so
yeah, he's getting old.
This is what I would do. I would sign. If he does decide he wants to come here, I would sign him, but have an insurance policy where if he's not looking good at all, then you can cut him and not really lose anything. You know what I'm saying? Since he's at the end of the rope. I mean, your career is pretty much over. You got.
Yeah, they're not going to cut him. They
one season left in you.
He's going to make that contract, like saying, hey, if you sign me, you can't cut me. It's like I'm the GOAT, so don't tarnish my legacy. So if I'm going to go there, you keep me playing as starter the whole year. You got to ride and die if you're going to take a quarterback like that.
Well, they better fucking really evaluate his throwing arm, his throwing strength.
And that's why I wouldn't mind, Kojo. It's like if we got TB12 and we did take a quarterback in the 1st round, since McDaniel's scheme is difficult, it's hard to learn. You got to give that young person a chance to learn it over the year to go into next year, because when you got even a veteran like DC, and we saw the demise, he's no longer on the team, but the photographic memory, and it's like he can't handle it. The receivers can't handle it. Tight end can't handle it. Any rookie they draft, you're just throwing them to the wolves. So that's Stiddy would be a great number 3, I think. I would like that. I don't want Stiddy as he's not our long-term answer. And as we talked about all night tonight, we don't want something that's short. We want to develop to where we can talk about being a contender for years to come. So we don't want something that's just going to be a one-hit wonder and like that. But I think TB12 is going to have to be the bridge. And then I think we need a quarterback who's got more skills than Stiddy to learn under there. And then even if he's number 3 this next season and have Stiddy as number 2, I'm fine with that. But we got to get someone who's going to be – I don't see Stiddy being better than Carr ever. And we need someone who's better than Carr, because the Raider Nation is like up in arms, fighting each other over Carr. He's the number 12, the number 15, quarterback. Well, we don't want that mid-range guy. We want that quarterback.
No, we don't want the mid-range. We want the fucking guy that's going to be the man for the next decade, and we want to be competitive for the next decade.
And that's kind of the reason why I said about, kind of the crazy off-the-wall trade. It was like, trading picks, get next year's picks, which we get more, then trading those picks up to get Caleb Williams, because that kid reminds me of a young Patrick Mahomes. So that's why I had to throw that stuff out there earlier. But we don't want mediocre anymore quarterback. We want the top end. We want to be that guy. Like when people talk about our teams like a Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, we want, our team to be mentioned, our quarterback to be mentioned, and the guys like those.
Yeah, that's true. We definitely want that. But first things first, they need to fucking fix the defense, because we need to have a chance to stop people like Pat Mahomes and like Justin Herbert and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow from fucking scoring hella points. So we need to fucking get that defense fixed. I would like to see that sometime.
You mentioned, Levante Davis at linebacker, and he's going to cost a lot of money. And just
I don't think so. I don't think Levante will cost a lot of money.
You don't think so?
He's been in the league for 10 years. I don't think he's going to command a lot of money. And I think Deron Payne is going to command some money. And I don't know, maybe James Bradbury, but I think Levante David you could get him at a fair price if we get Tom Brady. I mean, because if he said he's willing to follow Tom Brady to wherever he's going, which probably be the Raiders, I mean, I don't think he's going to command like a crazy ass contract. Now, if he does, he does. Obviously, then you can't spend hella money, because I think they can only spend maybe on one person on defense. They can spend some serious money because then you got the rest is going to be out on draft picks and stuff like that. But
we got to figure about $9 to $10 million is going to be on draft picks. If I had to pick just one guy to come over, big free agent splash, I want Payne. I want to see that push up the middle.
Yeah, that would be, if I had to spend money on a player, I'll get Payne, and then I'll bargain shop for the rest of the positions. To give me a starter for each fucking position.
Yep. And I do want Perriman back. Randy got hurt this year a little bit, but I like Perriman. Yeah, that guy makes plays in the backfield. He's a beast.
Yeah, I'll take Perriman back. I mean, you still got Diablo. I still don't know about him. I mean, I just want to see some of the younger guys play, because that was another thing that with Ziegler, you draft some of the guys and they don't even touch the field. They were deactivated like almost every week, and I'm like, why? Yeah. Why are you deactivating fucking players that are not hurt? I mean, let us look at them. Let us see what fucking Matthew Butler can do, or the other guy. I forgot the other guy that they drafted, the other D tackle.
Oh, Farrell?
Matthew Farrell Jr. Yeah. Like, let us see what the hell they can do. Let us fucking take a look.
Well, absolutely. Like when they drafted him, he was the number one run stuffing defensive tackle in the draft. We know he's not going to get a big push, but hey, first down, second down, if we're unsure about things, we're taking Carr off the field and say we're going to take other guys off the field. Why not check all the guys out? If you're going to kind of throw in a towel a little bit when we're still in the hunt for the playoffs, and you take out your, the starting quarterback, why are we not doing that with all the other positions? Like, again, where's Kuntz? We need to see more of that kid. We need to see all those young guys.
I want to see more Malcolm Kuntz. Yeah. Yeah, there were some guys that just didn't get a lot of play time, and that's a questionable thing. It's like, well, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you playing this guy or that guy? So those are some of the things that I don't trust about Patrick Graham and Josh McDaniels is you don't play, you draft all these guys. We got 5 running backs on the roster. We never saw one.
Okay? Well, I think that philosophy is going to change with McDaniels. If Jacobs comes back, that ain't going to happen anymore, because that Patriot way was like running back by committee. And after seeing Jacobs, he's probably like going, "Wow, man, this is something I've never had." This kid is like, it's all these backs all put in one. So I don't see that happening anymore. So I think that's going to change. But, we didn't say this, earlier. So rating, like we rated, Patrick, we rated, McShitler, and we rated, our DM,
Ziegler.
But Graham, I'm going to give him a 4.5. I mean, you can't come in and say, "Oh, I'm so close to being a head coach. The New York Giants didn't hire me." And I felt like we were kind of blessed. Wow, this guy was going to potentially be a head coach. We got a guy like this. He's supposed to be awesome. And we give up so many blown leads. I mean,
yeah, to blow 5 double-digit leads, yeah, I'll give him a 4, 3.5. 4.
Yeah, it's like, going from Gunther to Gus. I'm like, Gus was like an angel. I'm like, well, okay, well, he's supposed to be better than Gus. And that was my thought process coming in. Like, he's going to be so much better. And blowing so many leads, I'm like, we wouldn't have blown all these leads with Gus, even though we had that defense. Like, we're going to give up a lot of yards, bend but don't break. But man, Graham just he bent and he bent over and he broke. So
I mean, with Paul Gunther, we didn't blow double-digit leads. Like we'd be up by 3 or by 4, and the fucking team just drove down the field and beat us. You know, they scored a touchdown or a field goal to beat us. So those were like very close leads that we had, and we would fucking lose in the final seconds. Those are heartbreakers, man. Like with Paul Guenther, that bastard.
But like, you know, that Cardinals game, it's like, oh my God, how in the world? It's like, it's unreal. So, and the one thing I will say, I remember, like Graham said, he wanted 4 good DBs and a good slot. Well, every team wants that. You know what I mean? Every team wants 4 good DBs and a good slot DB. Well, if you got all that, then it makes it easy. So it's like, come on, you need to work with what you got, dude. You need to do a better job of what you're doing, and hopefully next year he improves. Otherwise, I want him gone, dude. Absolutely.
So Auntie Six is like, what's our linebacker core? Or I think he's asking, yeah, what is our linebacker core for next year? Well, if it's up to me, Auntie Six, it would be Lavonte David. And if I can get my hands on Tremaine Edmonds, I don't know how much he's going to cost. I would get him. And then, of course, bring back Perriman. You still got Diablo and get some guys in the draft. So that would be my linebacking core. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing here. You don't want to overspend on defense. I mean, you can splurge on one player, but the rest you're going to have to bargain shop.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Al's Ghost is saying, in 2024, some people's salaries are going to be fucking up there, like Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, Hunter Renfrow. I mean, their shit's going to go up. So, you know, I know the cap will go up, but I don't know. 24 is going to be a little problematic on who's still going to be on the roster.
Well, not having to pay Carr $40 million, that's going to help out. I think
that's going to be a big difference, but still, the you're going to have a lot of high salaries that will affect the cap. I mean, at some point, shit catches up to you. I don't care how. The Chiefs, it's going to catch up to them too. They pay that fucking guy almost $500 million for 10 years. That shit will catch up. They're not going to fucking be able to keep everybody. You know, at some point, Chris Jones is probably going to walk. And Travis Kelce's probably going to walk. I mean, you can't pay everybody.
No, I mean, that's why they had to get rid of Tyreek, because they couldn't afford him.
Yeah. They offered him like 22. He's like, no, I want more. They're like, okay, well then have a good one.
Absolutely. But I think from what I've heard in another chat was like we're at like between 70 and 77 million, but we still have a lot of players that we need to re-sign because a lot of guys are like on 1-year deals, so that's going to eat a lot of it up. And it's like, you know, we got more draft picks than we had the previous year, and I think last year we spent $9 million on draft picks, so we're probably about $10 million this year, so it'll go fast.
Yeah. No, I mean it's the cap is cool right now, but yeah, in a couple months, it's gonna start dropping because you're gonna start signing players. You know, free agency starts what March? What is that fucking shit? March 13th or is it March? I always forget.
I forget too. Well, the biggest thing is going to be interesting if we can actually trade Carr or not. If someone wants to take, if he wants to go to the team. You know, it's going to be February 15th for that. But like I said, in March, if the team says we don't want you, well, then trade ain't going to happen. You're going to get nothing. And it's like, then you've got to guarantee his money. So if you're going to trade Carr, you better make sure, if you're the Raiders, that trade clause is going to be like, okay, you guys eat this somehow. Because otherwise, he's just going to have to be cut. We're going to get nothing.
No, they either have to get some kind of guaranteed in writing or something that's going to protect them. If they don't get that, then they're going to just cut them. I mean, the only way I would see a trade happening is if a team that absolutely wants him and they might not get a chance to get him once he becomes a free agent would make a trade. But, you know, I don't even know what his value is. 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, some shit like that. I mean, you know, if we go back a year ago, the Colts were offering 2 first rounders, supposedly, even though I never got definite confirmation that that was on the table, but everybody was talking about that.
Yeah, everyone was talking about that.
I don't know.
last year.
Yeah, I don't really know his value.
Where everyone's comparing to Stafford is pretty much, the comparison.
No fucking way you're gonna get that. You're not getting that for a car.
No,
what you got for
not now. Not now.
Yeah, you would have got that a while ago, but not now. So, yeah, I don't know. If they don't have some kind of protection, when they try to trade him to a team, then they're just going to.
It's got to cut him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to guarantee all that money, and you're just screwed for a player you're not going to keep on your roster.
I already know the Raiders are not going to. He's not going to be on the roster past February 15th. So
yep.
I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Either they're going to find a trade partner that they don't think is going to screw them over. Because I think, like, if you try to trade with the Colts now and McDaniels, what he did to the Colts, yeah, I think that would be a team that would screw you over.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we'll trade for Carr. Or like, nah, after the 15th of February, like, nah, you know what?
Well, you think about it, too. So think about this, Cujo. So they got the number 4 pick. And the Bears don't need a quarterback at number 1. And there's 3 quarterbacks you can take with that pick. So
yeah,
there's no reason why they would want Carr.
Right.
No
so
reason.
You can, the Colts can package together something. But I think that one of the quarterbacks, according to ESPN mock draft, one of the quarterbacks that they might want will be on the board at number 4. Since the Bears don't need a quarterback, they're going to draft defense.
That's what I'm saying. Then you got the kid from Alabama.
The Texans is drafting number 2. Yeah, so there's a chance that the Colts can draft one of the quarterbacks, either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud.
And then Arizona doesn't need a quarterback. So the Colts are sitting pretty, so they don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, they don't need to trade.
No.
And get their fucking guy at 4.
Best chance would be maybe like the Jets.
So the Colts are out of the question. So yeah, it's probably going to be the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, maybe the Saints where he's going to go to. Personally, I hope he goes to a Colt team.
I wish him the best. DC was our quarterback for a long time. He was a good guy, and he was a good quarterback. So I wish him the best as long as he's not playing our Raiders.
Exactly. When he plays us, I wish him pain.
Unlike Tom Brady, I hope he loses every game unless he's on our team.
Pretty much. I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes last Monday that how the Cowboys took him apart.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. I hope the Cowboys root the Niners this weekend. I told I had a conversation with OG because he doesn't get this because he's from South Carolina. I'm like all the East Coast Raiders. They don't get the Northern California like you and I, Niners and Raiders rivalry. Right. And I told OG, I'm like, there's a YouTube video on it. It's just Raiders Niners rivalry. It's about 30 minutes long. I'm like, you need to watch it. People are getting beat up and stabbed and shot and that's the rivalry. It's like I would rather have any AFC West team. If you're in the Super Bowl versus the Niners, I'd rather have any AFC West team beat the Niners. I just can't stand that team. It's and I don't want to hear it because, I don't want to hear from all my friends and family. I don't have any KC friends. Maybe my closest friend in KC is probably Hefe. And I only see him once in a blue moon in a chat. But, man, I don't want to hear it every day from Niner fans, so.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, Niner fans are obnoxious. I mean, there's a few fan bases that just absolutely get on my nerves. Niner fans, Cowboy fans, obviously Patriots.
Yeah.
And Eagle fans. Those guys chirp a lot at the bar.
Oh, man.
So these motherfuckers.
I think I got a call tonight. I got to get ready to go to bed.
Yeah,
dude.
bro. I'm about to call tonight myself, man. I've been on almost 2 hours, so it's been cool.
Been way cool. Hey, good seeing you, man. I thank you for
Good
giving me
seeing
the
you,
call
bro.
and shout. We got to like pull up for another game, and I think we got Ed Winchell. He wants to go out too.
Okay, well, tell him about the corner pocket, and we'll see him out there in September.
Sounds good, brother. I hope you have a good night,
man. What you have? Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
All right, salute.
All right, Raider Nation. I think I'm about to call it a night. But yeah, man, got to fix that defense. And I done address now some free agents the Raiders should target. Hopefully, I know they can't get them all, but if you can get one or two of these guys to start, it's gonna be that'll be make a big difference for our fucking defense that's been sucking for a long time. Fix the defense, and then you fix other little things on offense, on the offensive line, and we'll get there. Right now, yeah, it starts with the defensive line. So, and remember, hug and kiss your loved ones, because yesterday is history, today is now, and tomorrow is a mystery. And always live each day like it's your last. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, have a good night, Raider Nation. Peace.